Now we're going to focus on functions. Functions in R are a way to group statements to perform a particular task or set of tasks. R libraries are rich with a number of functions for statistical computations, data manipulation, and other intensive operations. These functions can either be called from existing packages or libraries, or they can be created and stored for use by the programmer. The key is that functions have a unique structure, but they provide great flexibility for developing robust and practical code. And in many cases, you're going to write functions to create these atomic tasks to allow you to reuse and recall various code statements appropriately. Now, a function consists of four main parts: the function name, which is the name by which the function is called and executed; parameters, which are the inputs into the function. The function uses these for its operation. Functions can have many parameters, 2 parameters, 1 parameter, or even no parameters. A return value, which is the value or object that is returned by a function after it's done its processing. Functions don't need to return something, but in many cases they do. And the function body, which is the code that actually is executed by the function. Calling a function is very simple. By providing the name of the function and some parameters, you can execute a particular function. Here we have an example: print, parenthesis, quote, hello, quote, close parenthesis. This calls the function print with one parameter, which is a string, and the output would actually be the word hello on your console. Another function is the plot function, plot x comma y. This will call the plot function with 2 parameters, a vector of x and a vector of y, and it can produce an associated plot. There are other parameters for plots which will be discussed in another module. We've seen the matrix function, which creates a matrix. In this case, the first parameter is a vector of 4 numbers, 3, 4, 2, 1, followed by the parameter nrow, which equals 2, so we're saying this is 2 rows, and therefore will be 2 rows and 2 columns, and the data should be input into the matrix by row, as true. Some functions just perform an operation, while others will perform an operation and return a value. The documentation of a particular function will tell you what is actually returned. So you can look at the documentation on the R help, and that's located in the help section at the bottom right of RStudio, or you can find it online as well. So an example of a function that returns an object would be the matrix function. So in this case, we have our matrix function that we showed in the previous slide, and it actually returns an object which will be a matrix object, which we put into M. Now, there are things called packages in which functions are put into. So a package is a collection of functions usually grouped for some logical operation, such as plotting, database interface, or psychology procedures. These packages, you'll see quite often, have reasonable names: ggplot, DBI for database interface, and psych for the psychology procedures. Looking at any R documentation for a function, it will contain information on what package the function is a part of. The package a function is found in is located in the braces of the documentation. So as you can see here, this function is called readXL, and it is located in the readXL package. We see that denoted by the braces in the documentation. In RStudio, if a package is not installed, then you'll have an option to install the given package in the Packages section of RStudio. Enter the name of the package, and it will automatically install. So here in the bottom right of your RStudio, you'll click Packages. A window will open up, and it will give you the opportunity to put in multiple packages separated by a comma or a space, and it will load them. Be sure to include the install dependencies, because when you see install dependencies, it's going to load up other packages that are needed for the particular package that you're using. The section at the top where it says install from repository CREN, this is where it's going to be getting the packages from. You can either get them from these repositories or these libraries located online at servers around the world, or you can download zip files and install them yourself. We'll focus on just installing them from the repository. Now, if you're going to install from a console prompt, you can use the install.packages function. In fact, if you click install packages from the RStudio environment, this is actually what it's doing. It's actually making the call to the install.packages function. Here we would say install.packages, the readxl package, and it turns dependencies true, so it will make sure that it will load any additional dependencies. Now, once you've installed a package, you only need to do that once. But to use a package, you're going to need to use the library function to tell your code that you're going to be using it. Just one note about the installation is if you reinstall R, sometimes you'll have to load up a new package. So if you move from one version to another, in some cases you may be required to install an updated version of the package. Now, using the library function will load the package into memory so that it can be used. The reason it does this is because there's no need to have every package loaded up into memory. It will just take up too much space. So we'll tell R when we want to use a particular package that we're going to load it into memory using the library package. So in a script, you might actually put your library function called. So in your script, the library function can be called with a single parameter, which is the name of the package to be loaded. Now, alternatively in RStudio, at the bottom right, again, of your environment where it says packages, you have a little check mark that you can check to basically load the library into memory. It will execute this same line of code. But it's recommended that when you create scripts that you put your libraries that you're going to use for your particular script at the top of your script so that you have them loaded prior to actual usage.